Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Full Moon Fridays here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. My name is Matthew. In the background, we have what, Steve?
Bloodlust, Subspecies 3, the gritty comeback of the series, so I'm told.
Right. So we talked about the first two subspecies on our first two episodes. I was a fan of both the original subspecies and, in particular, Subspecies 2. Steve, what were your thoughts on both?
They sucked.
You didn't like
a lot.
them? Yeah.
They were bad. They were real bad.
I wouldn't go that far. I like them. I don't think they're bad, but you do make some interesting points when it comes to Radu and the story, which I can't debate, but I still like those movies. Now we're getting into what you said, the aforementioned Bloodlust, Subspecies 3.
An innocent in a spell of evil. Seduced by a vampire
until the end of time,
who will stop at nothing to possess
You promised you would teach me everything.
his prey,
reach out with your senses.
body, and soul.
Take him.
Now, to save her sister,
You're so cold. You're dead.
a woman will enter a world beyond her worst nightmares.
There is no love between the living and the dead.
Bloodlust, Subspecies 3.
Which was originally supposed to be the end of the series. This was filmed back to back with part 2. So the same cast and crew are involved in this one as in Bloodstone. And we're going to decide, is this going to be a fitting quote-unquote finale? Because I think we're going to judge this two ways. We're going to judge it on its intended original finale. If you watch the Full Moon video zone on this one, Charles Band literally says, "This is done unless you ask for more, and then maybe we'll make some more."
So Bloodlust Subspecies 3, it's the last picture of the Subspecies series. I just feel that we've kind of told the story, but if enough of you guys write in and feel we should continue making them, of course, we'll do just that.
And then we're going to ultimately
And
sort of judge.
there's the nudity in the background.
Already? Oh, geez, yeah. Okay, I'll block that out. Captain Kirk's daughter shows her ass in this, so hopefully that's okay for YouTube. If not, I will pop something up on there. So yeah, we're going to find out, does it work as a finale to the original trilogy? And then later on, when we get to, Subspecies 4 and 5, should it have gone the rest of the way? Was there enough story to get it the rest of the way for another 2 installments? We shall find out. So before we get into this, though, we always forget something here on Full Moon Fridays. We are Full Moon fans. We enjoy Full Moon quite a bit, and we have actually covered some Full Moon films on Outpost Unknown, in particular a Killer Doll movie recently. Steve, what have we covered here on Outpost Unknown?
I assume you're talking about Baby Oopsie 1 and 2.
Yes, I am.
I think we both greatly enjoyed them. They're both on the Steve cast that you can find on the channel. They're audio only because at the time we weren't doing any sort of video. But it's a good thing to have on in the background. Unfortunately, there's a part 3 out there, but Matt refuses to do another Steve cast, so who knows if we'll ever cover it.
I don't refuse. I'm just a busy man. I'm a busy
Yeah,
man,
you
and
refuse.
the
You
timing has
refuse.
not handled. It's got to be one of those things, Steve, where I'm gone for a long time, and then when I come back, it's one of those like epic things. It's like Michael Jordan coming back the second
Okay,
time.
well, you haven't been on a Steve cast in like 6 months. I'm just saying the
That
end
can't
of
be
December
true.
is coming up.
Really? It's been that long? It can't be that long.
Saying and because Charles Band essentially found a way to create paid DLC for movies. He basically made Baby Oopsie 2 and then cut it in half and split it into 2 separate movies, and now he's selling the final 45 minutes of Baby Oopsie 2 as Baby Oopsie 3 because it's only like a 40-minute movie. Charles Band, king of monetization.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a little. So with that, let's dive into Bloodlust Subspecies 3. Now, Steve, tell me before you dive into the plot here. Tell me what you were thinking going into this one.
Fuck is what I'm thinking.
I was expecting it to suck big time. I will tell you that I actually, though, not that it's a high bar, this is probably, in my opinion, the best subspecies up until the finale, which goes right back into this is just fucking stupid territory.
Wow, because I'm going to have the opposite opinion of you on this one, I think. Interesting.
That's
I
fine.
can't wait. This is going to be fun. Okay, well, take it away. Walk us through Bloodlust.
So it begins like immediately, just like subspecies subspecies 2. It begins immediately after the previous one ended. So subspecies 2 ends with Becky and Michelle being separated again, and creepy mummy, which is currently in the background there, kidnaps Michelle and takes her back to the crypt. And so again, this movie picks up right like seconds after after the previous movie ended.
We should point out that both 2 and 3 have like recaps before them. And this is something that Charles Band does in a lot of his movies. There's a lot of this in the Puppet Master movies as well. It's like 2-minute previously on Subspecies, and you get the whole background. So, for example, you wouldn't even necessarily...
Make 75 minutes somehow.
Yeah, you wouldn't even necessarily need to watch... Like, for example, our friend Jeff hasn't seen the Subspecies movies. Like, should I just jump in with 2? In theory, like you could jump in with 2 because it recaps everything that happened in 1 before it goes in the same thing here.
Yeah. It's helpful because I had honestly forgotten a lot of Subspecies 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's not memorable in the slightest. But Subspecies
False,
3...
but I'll let you have it.
Subspecies 3 picks up right after 2 ends. The Radu's mom, who he just calls Mummy, kidnaps Michelle and takes her back downstairs, takes her back down to the crypt, and says, "I'm going to use your blood to revive Radu." And so Mummy Dearest cuts Michelle's wrist and drains a bunch of her blood into a cup, and then just sprinkles like just a tiny bit on Radu's forehead. So a little bit of Michelle blood goes a long way. And then Mummy takes out a knife, which I think is a different knife. I don't think it's the same knife that killed Radu in the previous movie. But Radu has a new hole in his face around his cheek because he got stabbed in the face in the previous movie. And so Mummy sprinkles a little bit of Michelle blood on Radu's head and then takes a new knife and puts the tip of it into Radu's new face hole and just jiggles it around a little bit. And Radu resuscitates? Question mark?
It's weird. It's strange.
She's a sorceress, so you literally just have to say magic and go with it. So that's fine. I'll take it.
Okay.
But Radu has been revived again for basically like the third time in about a day and a half.
Can this guy die? Like, is Radu actually killable at this point? I mean, I suppose you could put him kind of on ice. Like, if there didn't happen to be, someone there to revive him, like if Mummy didn't revive him, could the subspecies revive him? We've seen the subspecies revive him in the past. So is that his like get out of death free card? Is the subspecies will always be there?
Yeah, I don't know. You tell me, Matt. Do they ever find a way to actually kill him in the rest of the series? I'm guessing no.
I don't think so.
But Radu is back. Meanwhile, Becky goes and changes clothes. She just puts she has this like bloody nightgown on that she was wearing at the end of the previous movie, and she takes it off and she just puts on a coat, like just a coat, no pants, no panties. So she's just straight Donald Ducking it like through the woods.
It's weird. I'm like, again, we talked the last episode about the shower scene that just sort of came out of nowhere, was there for nudity. I feel like this was another scene like that where it was just like, we need to show off this beautiful woman's butt, so she's going to take this dress off. I guess she took it off because it was bloody.
Yeah,
That's when it was bloody, and maybe she would. I mean, what does she think? It seems like it'd be easier to convince people that something bad happened if she's in a bloody
Yeah,
dress.
you could have just like put the coat on over it to cover the blood and like,
Yeah,
have pants on, but
but then we
whatever,
wouldn't have William Shatner daughter butt.
whatever. Anyway, so Becky flees, and I don't know, like, does Becky know that Mummy took Michelle? I don't think she saw that, but she's running away panicked, which, I mean, she
Yeah,
just dealt with
I mean,
vampires,
she
so
might have
fair.
heard her screaming.
Yeah, I
But
don't know, but
she couldn't have possibly seen Mummy take her because Michelle backs way down into the. Because I
yeah,
always thought like that Rebecca would just be right by the gate and like the whole time. Like, why would you not be there with your sister? Within visual distance, but she doesn't. She just kind of runs away. It's
anyway, yeah,
unclear.
she puts on a jacket and nothing else and runs to like a bar full of guys, and they're all like leering at her, but she gets to use the phone, and she calls consulate bro Mel, the consulate bro.
He's back.
And so Mel re-enters the movie, and Becky and Mel go back to the castle or the crypt or whatever, and the Romanian detective Marine is there.
Yep.
And so Detective Marine and Becky and Consulate Bro and various Romanian cops, they're investigating the crypt, but at this point, Radu has been revived, and the cops originally don't find anything, but Becky goes in there alone. Becky, Rebecca, I'm going to use that alternately, or it's the same person. Becky goes into the crypt alone and hears Mummy yelling. That alerts all the cops, but then smoke starts billowing out of the crypt, and what's going on, and that chases all the cops away. And finally, seeing all of the smoke and lights coming out of the crypt, Mel's like, yeah, all right, apparently some vampire shit's going down. So like
That was
Mel is immediately.
Oh my god! I think I wrote that down somewhere. Who's like, well, I guess something strange is happening right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, there's definitely something weird going on here.
This is one of my complaints with this one. Is this one when he did that? I'm like, okay, they're going into like almost wacky jokey joke territory now, like more comedic relief sort of stuff in this one. Whereas I feel like the first Subspecies and Subspecies 2 did not really have a lot of that. It was played pretty straight all the way through. But then even
I didn't take that as comedic relief. I took it as just like incompetency among the police in this area.
Well, even Marin, or however you pronounce his name, he even comes across as kind of wacky to me at times, and it just this one has a different feel and tone to it than the first
Which
two,
is
in my
weird because
opinion.
they filmed them back to back. So like,
Yeah.
does that mean just like in the middle of filming, like the director called for a tone change? I don't know. It didn't bother me.
But did you feel the tone change? Did you feel like there was one?
No, not really. I
Okay, 'cause
thought
I
this was
did.
more like just incompetency by the cops than it's meant to be funny.
Okay.
Or
Overall, I
weird or
felt there was a
strange.
different tone to this one than there was.
Okay. Well, the cops have been chased away, but because of the smoke and light show, Consulate Bro Mel is now convinced that Becky is right. Something weird's going on here. It's probably vampires. But what's actually going on inside of the crypt is Mummy is saying like, we've been discovered, we can't stay here. And so what's going on is Mummy is just yelling and Radu is chanting something, and they're apparently casting a magic spell that teleports them away. And so they wind up back at like the castle from the beginning, from the first movie. Like I think they end up in like the room where Radu killed his dad at the beginning of the first film.
Yeah.
And so for a while we've got like kind of like competing narratives. There's a narrative where Becky and Detective Marine and Consulate Bro Mel are doing their thing. Meanwhile, like Michelle is kind of sort of like embracing vampire life. Or I think maybe she feels like she doesn't have a choice at this point. But she goes to Radu and is like, teach me, and Radu says kneel, and she kneels before Radu. And then he drops the cage on her that Daddy dropped on Radu back in part one. And she's like, what the hell? You promised you were going to teach me. And he's like, I will. The first thing I'm going to teach you is patience.
Patience.
And so Radu goes out and first of all, back on the Becky and Consulate Bro side of the story, uh, Becky said to Mel, "Hey, come stay in my room tonight because I'm scared. I don't want to be alone." And so it's completely, platonic at this point. So they both fall asleep, like Becky's in the bed, and Consulate Bro Mel falls asleep on the chair, and Radu just teleports into their room and just stares at them for a few seconds and then teleports away.
It's well, like he teleports in to look at her, but then he looks over and he sees Mel just hanging out in the corner, like sleeping in the chair. And I'm like, why doesn't Radu do something here? Like, why doesn't he just kill Mel?
That's the complaint I had in the first 2 movies. Why doesn't Radu do something?
Yeah.
That part doesn't get better in this movie, but Radu just leaves and he finds a random girl on the street, and he kidnaps her and takes her back to Michelle, and he's going to like feed her to Michelle, but not before ripping open her shirt, because all of the vampire lore says you can't drink blood without the titties out, and so Radu respects the classics.
What was funny about that is the I probably can't play a clip of this, obviously, for YouTube, but she's wearing like something that does not cover her neck at all, and he's just like, whoosh, feed, bite her neck. I'm like, there's no reason that the titties need to come out.
It's actually on the background right now. More editing.
Oh, is it? God damn it! And I'm like, well, there's no real reason for this other than we got to have boobs in here to try to help sell the movie,
the 80s. Right? Got to have boobs in it, and so Michelle like does her first like feeding, and she's still like broken up about it. But in the previous movie, like she fed on like random dude bro from a rave, and then made herself puke up the blood. But this time she's hesitant, but she's got the vampire thirst, and she goes for it. And so now Radu's like, finally, step 1, like you're mine now. And then they go to Radu's crypt, and Radu cuddles her, as you can see on Matt's screen right now.
Jeez, you're just going right along with this in the background.
But yeah, like Michelle and Radu like go to Radu's crypt together to hide from the sun, and like Radu actually like cuddles her.
This is so weird. I don't like this. See, this is what I'm talking about. Weird vibe, weird tone. Like, this seems out of place from the rest of the subspecies stuff. There's like, you'll get to it, but there's like quasi like love. Like, is Radu in love with her suddenly? Is she?
Well, that was not even suddenly. Like, that was a plot point in part 2. Like, he says, like, I love her. I want to torture her because that's how I show
really
love.
But we don't really see any of that. Like, this one feels much different. This feels like lovey dovey type of stuff, whereas part 2 didn't feel that way. It was like a line of dialogue, and then you just kind of rolled with it. But here, she's kind of like trying to be with Radu in a way, then she switches back and forth. I don't know about this one, man. I don't know about this one.
All right, well, what happens after Radu cuddles Michelle? As you can see on the screen behind Matt, Consulate Bro Mel goes and robs the historian from that died in the last movie, like robs him of all of his vampire killing weapons, and then they go to they're gonna go and like break into the castle, but Detective Marine is there, and he's like conducting an investigation, and he still does not buy this vampire bullshit. His personal theory is Michelle got involved in like trading stolen antiquities on the black market, and now people are pursuing her, and there's murders. Like, he thinks there's this big like black market antique conspiracy thing, but ultimately like he allows Consulate Dude Bro and Michelle to break in, but then like the hole that they were going to crawl into has been covered up, so they're like, shit, I guess we got to leave for the day. And then they leave for the day, and so another day passes, and Michelle or Becky goes back to her room, and Consulate Dude Bro goes with her, and this time they actually like start to make out. They're gonna have sex, but then Becky starts having like flashbacks to all the terrible things that have happened in like the last
PTSD
12 minutes of her
for
life.
Sure. Yeah.
And so she, nothing happens at the time. Meanwhile, back on the Radu and Michelle side of things, again, Michelle is kind of sort of starting to embrace vampire life. She wants Radu to teach her things, like teach me how to fly, teach me how to teleport. and they go hunting together for the first time, and they end up capturing 2 people and bringing them back to the castle. And so now Radu and Michelle are kind of bonding, and Michelle is really like, she's real hot and cold in regards to this whole vampire thing. And like sometimes she
Yeah.
seems really into it. Sometimes she tells Radu that I hate this, I hate you, uh, kill me, blah blah blah. But then Radu gives her a pretty necklace, and she's cool again for a little bit.
The tone,
There
again, the tone's weird. It's just all over the place. It's that's another problem I have with this is like the Becky and Mel. That feels like a pigeonholed sort of love thing that they're attempting
Most
there.
love things in 80s and 90s movies are pigeonholed
I
things.
know, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Well, now Radu and Michelle are having a moment where Radu is like, or Michelle wants to watch the sunrise, and Radu says, "We have to leave. The sun's coming." And she's like, "No, I want to stay." And Radu's like, he kind of gives in. He's like, "Okay, like I will stay."
Until it
Uh,
starts hurting or
yeah,
burning or whatever.
until the pain begins. And then Michelle's like, "Is it true the sun can kill us?" And Radu says yes, which is absolute bullshit based on the previous movies, including part 2, which was filmed back to back with this.
You calling Radu a liar? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I am. But Radu says yes, the sun can kill us, and Michelle says like, "What? Okay, what else can kill us? Like, give me an itemized list in case I need to apply these one day."
He's like many things. It's like
Yeah,
true. Like so many things can kill vampires except
except for Radu.
for Radu. He could just come back whenever he wants,
Yeah.
apparently.
But like, Radu and Michelle continue to hang out. Radu gives Michelle a necklace, and uh,
Mummy is not happy.
Mummy is not happy. In walks Radu. Have they captured Dude Bro at this point?
Let me look at my screen. No, I don't think so.
Well, all right, let me cover what's going on with Dude Bro and
Yeah.
Becky. After night 2 of them hanging out together semi-platonically, consulate Dude Bro Mel's like, "Oh hey, I have a friend in the CIA. Hey, CIA agent Bob, why don't you come
Oh
over?"
God.
Hey, bud. Jesus, Bob. Hey, Lorene, it's okay. He's a friend. Everybody cool here? Yeah. Bob, this is Rebecca. Rebecca, this is my friend Bob.
Hi, Bob. Nice to meet you.
Ma'am.
See again. This is what I'm saying
Now,
about
Bob is 100% comic relief.
like the wackiness of this. Again, this is I mean, I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag here. I don't like this one because I don't like the shift in tone that this one feels like. And CIA agent Bob in his interactions with Inspector Marin, in his interactions with Dude Bro Consulate Mel, I'm just like, no, like what I loved about the first two, which was the atmosphere and the tone, to me, that gets thrown out the window in part 3, and it gets into, and you know me, for anyone out there, I'm not big into comedy. I don't like comedy stuff generally at all. I mean, it takes a lot to make me laugh at that kind of stuff. Not comedy. What I loved about the first two subspecies, they went away from in this one, and it makes me like it much, much less than the others. And
Okay, well,
Bob's a big reason why.
Speaking of CIA agent Bob, uh, CIA agent Bob and consulate bro Mel and Detective Marine and Becky, they are going to break into the castle. Like they're going to go and rescue Michelle. And so Bob shows up, and he's this very like 80s action movie stereotype. Like aside from the muscles, he looks like a normal dude, but he's got like a semi-military outfit on and a beret, and he's got just like bags and bags and bags of guns, and he's got silver bullets, which he apparently owes his neighbor $500 because he stole her silver crosses and melted them down for silver bullets.
Guess he thought he was going to be in like a werewolf movie or something, but
apparently silver bullets kind of sort of work, as we'll find out later.
Yep.
CIA agent Bob and consulate Dude Bro Mel, they throw up a rope and they both break into the castle, and they find Mummy, who is like torturing another random girl that was caught the night before, and consulate or CIA agent Bob just opens fire on her, which does absolutely nothing. And so she just like holds up her hand like this, and she's got a knife in it, and she just uses her mind powers to just, like shoot the knife out, and it stabs CIA agent Bob in the head, and he's dead. So thank you for coming to the film. He was in it for about 7 minutes, and then she just captures she captures consulate Bromel. And so
Well,
I
he
think
picks
that's
up
where
the
we're at.
gun and he tries to shoot her. So that's all.
And it
That's the
does
last we
nothing.
see because we don't really know what exactly happens to Dude Bromel yet, or Consulate Bromel yet.
Well, we find out that Consulate Bro Mel has been captured because I believe he is there when the necklace scene happens. Radu has given Michelle a necklace, and in the two of them walk in together, and Mummy Dearest is like, "That's mine. This is bullshit. You need to kill her. She is dragging you down." And
Mummy knows
Radu
what's
is,
up.
yeah,
Mummy knows.
Mummy's right about everything.
Yeah, Mummy knows what's up. She's like, this woman is gonna lead you to your ruin, Radu. So like, just kill her and get over it. And Radu's got the googly eyes for Denise stuff, and who wouldn't? Obviously, there is a really big plot hole that I noticed with Michelle character that we completely forgot to address in part 2. Do you know what that is, Steve?
No, I try to remember as little as possible about Subspecies 2.
In part 1, Michelle's got short hair, and she gets into the coffin. And in part 2,
And she wakes up
she
and she
wakes
looks
up with
completely different.
yeah. In part 2, she's got long hair and she turns into Denise Duff. Huge plot continuity
Huge
error right there.
bubble. Anyways, Mummy's like, fine, I'll do it myself, and she goes to kill Michelle, and Radu's like, and grabs her arm and just rips his mom's arm off, and then stabs her in the neck with the blade, cuts her head off, and the head is still alive. And the head's like, oh, I curse you, I curse you. And Radu throws her head into the fire, and so Mummy is finally dead. Radu is now basically like alone, or he's not. He doesn't. He complains about something. No,
He complains that he's like, I killed my father, I killed my mother. He's like, all I've got is you, basically. And
I think he says something like, what do I get out of this? And
yeah.
Denise Duff says like, forgiveness. Like, I give you my forgiveness for what you've done to me. And Radu's like, there's not enough forgiveness in the world for what's happened to me.
Yeah,
But
I'm not feeling sympathetic for Radu. If that's what they're going for, I'm not feeling sympathetic.
I'm not sure what they were going for there. But then Consulate Bro recognizes that Michelle is Becky's sister, and so he's like, "Hey, come over here, help me out of here, and we'll get you out of this." Radu tries to get Michelle to feed on Consulate Bro, and she's about to do it, but then like a walkie-talkie that got lost in the room, Becky starts talking through it and is like, anyone come in, blah blah blah. And so Michelle makes a deal with Radu. Michelle is like, let me go and talk to my sister, and in return, like, I will be yours. I will completely submit to you. And Radu's like, fine, go and do it. And so Michelle and Becky have a moment. Radu peeks out the window and sees Detective Marin out there and just goes and kills him. And then he
I'm like, we followed Marin this whole time, and then boom, just dead, just like that.
Yeah, he's just dead. And then as Becky and Michelle are having their scene, like, Radu just walks up behind Becky, and Becky pulls out the gun. She's like, this is full of silver bullets. Like, I will use this if you don't basically give in to all of my commands. And Radu's like, all right.
This gun is loaded with silver bullets, and I will use it if I have to. I want you to release my friends, and then Michelle and I are leaving, and you better not try and stop us. Do you understand?
Perfectly.
Yeah, he's just like, okay. Again, the way that was delivered, it felt goofy. It just felt like I started laughing.
This is the part where I stopped liking the movie, and I'll explain as we go on here. Because Radu's like, okay, fine, and Radu brings Becky into the castle, and Radu like releases Dude Bro Mel, and the other random girl that was captured the night before is still there, and Becky's like, all right, now come on, Michelle, we're leaving, we're going home. And Michelle's like, no. Radu is trying to coax Michelle into killing them to like seal her fate as a vampire, and she doesn't. Michelle does take Becky's gun, and she goes to like put it up to her head, and Radu's like, no, don't do that, don't do that, and she turns around and just unloads on Radu. And at first, I was thinking this is like a plot by Radu. Like Radu saw the gun and is like, this gun is no threat to me. I'm going to like lure Becky in, and then I'm gonna win. But no, the gun absolutely hurts Radu, and so Radu just allowed this weapon that can harm him into his castle when he could have used any of his many vampire powers to just get the gun away from Becky. Like back, this is where the movie lost me. So I thought Radu was like pulling some shit, but no, he was just fucking stupid.
No.
And so Radu has been shot. He's not dead, but he's been shot, a million times by this gun with silver bullets. Becky, Michelle, Dude Bro, Mel, and random girl that happened to be there, they grab the Bloodstone and flee. And out comes like a severely injured Radu has been shot to shit. He's chasing them. Also at this point, like Melanie has, like the sun is getting to her, and so they pull out a body bag and put her in that. They set up the body bag earlier in the movie.
I don't remember the body bag being in the movie. I was like, did CIA agent Bob bring that? I could not remember.
Yeah, well, remember that suddenly they have a body bag.
Yeah,
and
I
so
don't
they
remember
put
that.
Michelle in the body bag to protect her, and Radu says like, "Give me the Bloodstone."
He's out he's like out in the sunlight. That's what I didn't understand about this. I'm like, why is Radu running out into the sunlight? He can't do anything to these people right now.
That's been my question. Like in the previous two movies, like what's going on with the sun? So like Radu is out in the daylight and is like, give me the Bloodstone. And
yeah, like
I
they're
will
gonna do that.
I will
Radu.
let you leave.
Like they're gonna.
And so Becky's like, you want it? Here you go. And she like throws it over the castle wall. And Radu stands up and stares at the sun, bursts into flames. Then Radu's stunt double falls to his death, impales himself on some tree branches, and the heroes just leave. And the end of the movie is a couple of Radu chunks fall on the ground, and those chunks grow into the new subspecies creatures, and then they go and grab the Bloodstone. And that's it. So the actual subspecies creatures are only in this movie for like 10 seconds, which is somehow like down from like the minute and a half they got in the previous movies. I didn't love this movie, but I thought I was entertained by this movie more than the other two films up until the end, when it turns out that yes, Radu is just that dumb. He just let Becky bring a weapon that can harm him into his castle.
Well, yeah, and it's also one of those things where, if anybody has a gun and points at I got silver bullets in here, buddy. You better do what I say. And he's just going to be like, okay, I guess I have to. I guess I must. Watching this movie, because, again, I really like the first two. I like the first two movies, and I will not apologize for liking the first two movies quite a bit. This third one here, I guess I had completely forgot. I've seen this multiple times, but as I was watching it, I'm just kind of like, the beats are familiar to me, but I just didn't remember all of the little stuff in here that I ended up really not liking. Again, I did not like the comedic aspects of this. I feel like there was a tonal shift to something completely different than what I really enjoyed about the first two Subspecies movies. And again, like Radu just doing the dumbest things over and over and over and over again. I just couldn't. This one didn't work for me. This one just did not work for me. And like, when I'm sitting there asking, like Radu, like you said, he can barely walk. He can barely walk. And he chooses to go outside into the sun and ask these people who clearly have just tried to murder him and have succeeded in basically weakening him so much that he could barely keep up with them. Hey, throw me the Bloodstone and I'll let you go.
The Bloodstone. Give it to me.
Like, I think the proper response from all of those characters would have been to laugh in his face and just keep on leaving, because he can't do anything about it. And I'm like, none of this makes any sense whatsoever. I feel like it does a disservice to the Radu character because even our complaints in the first two movies, like, what does he really do? He still like kills people in those movies. He still at least has a the ancient Romans used to call it auctoritas when you sort of walk into a room and it's like everyone knows, oh, this person's not someone to fuck with. He doesn't even have that by the end of this movie. He just does the dumbest things possible. He doesn't use any of these powers that he's claiming that he has. I mean, we clearly see him teleport multiple times into buildings where he's not invited, which in the first subspecies are like, got to be invited at least into, holy places. He's teleporting. He goes into the bedroom. He does nothing there. He doesn't kill Mel immediately when he has the opportunity while Becky's sleeping on the bed. He leaves. He does nothing. He talks a big game. He starts falling in love with Michelle in this goofy way. I'm just like, I don't buy this at all. I don't buy anything that's happening in this movie. And it's really disappointing to me because, again, I like the first two Subspecies movies a lot, and I will rewatch those movies again. This tone is off. The visuals, I don't think, are even as cool as the ones before. Just CIA agent Bob is just awful. Just awful. I'm like, this character should not be in this franchise. So yeah, I'm not a fan of Subspecies 3 Bloodlust by any means. I think the best part of this movie is probably Denise Duff as Michelle, but again, she doesn't do much of anything in this movie at all. I don't know. I don't know why this was supposed to be the end, the final Subspecies movies. I feel like they didn't stick the landing on this, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not a good movie. Like it's of the three I've watched, it's probably my favorite, but that's because I was on board with the idea of Michelle's like, fuck it, I'm gonna embrace being a vampire, and Radu is going to like teach her. I wanted to see where that went. I wanted to see, what powers is she going to get? Like, how does Radu function as a teacher? And then that just kind of like stopped after a while. CIA Agent Bob is ridiculous. The ending of the movie is stupid. Like, I started thinking that Radu's hatching some master plot, and it turns out no, he was just an idiot. And the fucking Bloodstone. What does it do? At one point, Michelle's like, "Let me drink from the Bloodstone," and Radu says, "No, its power is too great for you." What power? It does nothing. It's just like a can of food. It's a can of infinite food, and that's all it is. No powers have been demonstrated by the Bloodstone whatsoever.
Yeah, in the Full Moon fan group, I think one individual mentioned that in the very first film, Carl says that when Radu drinks from the Bloodstone, it's like a drug to him or something, and he's got to have more and more. And I'm like, well, but that doesn't matter. Like who cares
Show me.
if he drinks more and more? Like, how does that enhance his evil powers? Like, he doesn't do anything with his evil powers. He teleports into bedrooms and doesn't kill the people in there that he should kill, and he teleports away. And he follows people a lot, but he doesn't actually do much. It's like I guess he catches some Transylvanian commoners every once in a while and drinks from them. Well, that's what every vampire does in every movie. Like,
As we're seeing on the back screen right now.
Yeah. So it's like, what does Radu do? And that's one of the I think the big problems with the franchise overall is it has all the elements to be awesome. Radu has a cool design. Anders Hove sounds awesome as Radu. I love when he's like blood just coming out of his mouth and his raspy voice sounds cool. The locations are spectacular. Mummy looks incredible. There's a lot of really cool special effects. Even when Radu is getting burned up by the sun, it looks cool. It looks pretty sweet. I'm like, wow, that's cool. I wish I felt something for this.
How's he going to come back in part 4?
Well, we will find out. So, we will talk about part 4 coming up next on Full Moon Fridays. But I was just very disappointed with this. And again, I have seen this before, but I guess I'm one of those people that when I don't like something, I just delete it from my mind. And the first two movies I remember very well. I've watched them multiple times. I know I've watched this multiple times, but I'm like, now I know why I don't like this movie, and I don't revisit this movie. It's because it's not what the first two subspecies were for me personally. If there are people out there, I'm sure there are people in the Full Moon group who watch this movie and like this movie. Cool, absolutely fine if you like the movie. I have no problem with people who like the movie. It didn't work for me because of those reasons. I just wish it would have been a little smarter and less campy comedic tone to something that had been established as kind of like a straight serious sort of thing.
I would love to know, like, if the tonal shift was accidental or if something they were actually going for, because it seems like it would be very strange to film two movies back to back that are direct sequels to one another, where one picks up literally like 10 seconds after the previous one, and then to go, all right, let's make it funnier.
Well, they had to
Maybe
know.
that's what happened.
They had to
I don't
know
know.
as soon as they put in CIA agent Bob. I mean, they had to know that the tone was going to be different at a certain point. But, whereas with Bob was very tonally different. I mean, I just got the vibe even from the stuff before that. Clearly you didn't get that vibe, but even when like with Mel and stuff, I'm like, some of the stuff he said, the way he's delivering the lines, it just comes across as not as serious to me. It wasn't like when he says that line about, well, I guess there are vampires or whatever. He didn't deliver it in a way where he's like serious about it. It was just kind of like, well, I guess there are vampires, and it just seems to cut away to something completely different. I also think there are a number of pacing problems with this. Like, there's a lot of this stuff that could have been cut down. You could probably argue that for a lot of the subspecies movies, they could chop a bit out of it.
Well, they're all like just barely over the 75-minute mark, so
75, 80 minutes. Yeah. You take
yeah.
out the credits and the recaps. I mean, they're, on one hand, that's good because it's like, okay, they're short watches. You're not sitting there for 2.5 hours, people, but they're essentially walking simulators in a way because these movies are just people walking around most of the time, walking to the castle, walking through the castle, walking the streets of Romania, that kind of stuff. And, you pacing issues like there, I'll give you a perfect example. So when CIA agent Bob shows up and he's got to scale the castle wall or whatever, right? So he like freestyles all the way up, and Mel and Becky are sit down there and they're watching him. And then he throws down the rope because there's another joke in there when she's like, "Oh, you can do that?" And Mel's like, "No, I can't do it. That's why I sent him up there first." And then the rope drops. But then we have like 30, 40 seconds watching Mel climb up the wall with the rope as Becky watches. And I'm like, none of that needed to be in the movie. End that scene if you're going to do the joke. End the scene with the rope coming down, and then cut to something else, and then cut back to them being up at the top. We as an audience, we already know he's going to get up there. We know that they're all going to be able to do that. Just cut it. But it just drug it down. It's just an example of where just the pacing feels off in this one. And a lot of this takes place during the daytime. I would say the majority of this takes place during the daytime, whereas part two seemed like it was always at night. It's what it felt like. All the cool scenes at night. There are a couple night scenes in this, but it just felt like this was a daytime movie. And again, the tone, the atmosphere, the feel of it just was different from part two. And I was not digging the vibe. Not digging the vibe of this one. So
I mean, it's a shit movie. Like, I
thumbs down
like
on
it
this one.
better than the other ones, but it's real bad. So far Subspecies is 0-3 for me. I'm gonna finish the series. There's three more, right? There's like two more actual subspecies and a spin-off, right?
Yes. So the next one is Subspecies 4 Bloodstorm that came out in 1998. So 4 years later, they came back to the well and they did it again. And I think Denise Duff's in that one, and all the same people are in that one again. And then they did Vampire Journals, which Ted Nicolau also wrote, which is a spin-off where they mention like the Radu family in that, but it doesn't follow the same characters. It's completely
Okay.
different people. And then they came out just recently with Subspecies 5, which is kind of like how all this began. I think it's kind of like a prequel to the entire series. So you kind of see how the Radu family, how all that went down. So yeah, 2 or 3 more films if you want to include Vampire Journals.
We gotta watch them all, so
Okay.
I can tell you that Subspecies ends up being 0-6.
Okay, well, we're going to watch them all, ladies and gentlemen. And then after that, I guess we're going to go through the Puppet Master series in chronological order. And I've already been doing some investigation on that.
I will be heartbroken if some of those don't hold up.
Now, my favorite is part 2. And you said your favorite is part 3, correct?
Yes. Both of them are great. But yeah, part 3 is my favorite.
Now, I'm going to remember you said that, right? You said they're great. So we're going to find out as we go through the entire thing. Do they live up to our memories of greatness?
And we're going to watch them not in the order of creation. We're going to watch them in chronological order, right?
Correct.
And we're going to try to piece together the storyline and see just how little sense it makes. Because I feel like Toulon goes from bad guy to good guy to bad guy to good guy multiple times throughout that series.
Yeah, and there's also the thing where like the continuity itself doesn't even make any sense. Like there'll be some specific movies that say like Toulon dies in a certain year, and then that's retconned in the next movie. But then 3 movies down the road, they go back to the original death timeline, and all
There's
kinds
a Puppet Master multiverse.
Yes, multiverse. And let me look. I'm gonna bring up this thing real quick here as to which is the first one that we need to watch. I think is it Retro Puppet Master? Let me look real quick. There's a Screen Rant article. I'll post it in the description below that kind of lists all 14 films and where they. But yeah, Retro Puppet Master takes place in 1902. So that will be the first one that we watch in the chronological timeline. And, you know, you have a mind like a steel trap when it comes to all these details. I'm going to enjoy you trying to sift through the madness that is the Puppet Master timeline and whether or not any of that lines up at all. But
it won't.
Yeah, it won't. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of Full Moon Fridays. Subspecies 3, unfortunately, I'm not hot on it. I'm a fan of the first 2, not so much this one. Steve still has yet to find one he actually likes. Leave a comment below. Anybody out there in the Full Moon group, fan group on Facebook, let us know, what are we missing? Did we miss something vitally important here that is just not coming through or is lost in translation? Is there is Radu way cooler than we are making him out to be? Is he really a badass and we just missed something? Leave a comment below. Tell us what we're missing. And if you have any Full Moon films you'd like us to cover in the future, leave those as well. And that's it. That's all I got.
Subspecies sucks and continues to suck. See you next time.
They're 2 for 3 for me. Bye, guys.